So I love the Mogrich, but one thing I really thought needed changing right out of the box was the axles. Seemed too small for it. They were too narrow. They weren't portal axles. They didn't really have that Unimog vibe. And because FMS themselves makes wider portal axles, I thought it was time we did something about that. And do a full portal axle conversion and make the Mogrich into a Unimog. So that's what I've done here. But you probably want to take a closer look at it. So let's take it over to the desk and see how it looks, see how I did the conversion, and see it driving around. So when FMS released the 1/18 scale Mogrich, I had one major issue with it. I love the truck, the overall look of the truck. It's just very, very realistic. The playability is great with the opening bed and everything. I loved this truck as it was, but the one thing it was missing is it had the completely wrong axle on it. The axles were too narrow, and also they were not portal axles, they were straight axles. So I decided to take it upon myself and fix that. So in this video, we'll be talking about my proper FMS Unimog. So what I did to do the conversion is essentially take one of these, the FCX24, and steal the axles from it, as well as a couple of the little ball studs that are in the links. So I acquired a pair of the stock FCX24 axles, as well as steal the little ball studs from this car, which is why this one's sitting on metal ones now. And then just throw it onto this one. It was a fully bolt-on upgrade, no cutting or fabrication or anything required, so it's super, super easy. The main headache is mostly just sourcing down the parts to do the conversion. And one kind of ironic thing is this is marketed as a 24 scale vehicle. This is an 18 scale vehicle, but this actually has wider and taller axles than this, which is kind of funny. But moving to this, if we take a look underneath, you can see the portal axles there. And under the car here, it does still have the stock 4-link setup, the stock links from the Mogrich, both upper and lower. You can see the FCX24 has different links. They're more straight and has a Y link at the top. These are more curved at the ends. You just mostly need the little ball studs for the screws to go into the upper link there to mount the axles. The drive shafts are also kind of funny because the cups at the ends are different sizes, but the drive shaft itself is the same size. So all you have to do is leave the female side on the axle and then the male side on the stock transmission, and then the shaft itself will actually fit perfectly in there. So you don't have to do any modification or anything like that, and it's completely reversible. But if you ever want to throw the stock axles back on here, you have to remember to replace the axle side of the drive shaft with the stock one, otherwise it won't fit. The other thing I had to change a bit was the stock steering setup of this one is servo on a chassis mounted servo, whereas the FCX is a axle mounted servo, and you can manage to keep the chassis mount if you really want to, but it was easier for me to just keep the axle mount of the stock axle, so I did do that. But while I was at it, I did upgrade the servo into the Savox one. It is a tad too large, so it does hinder downwards travel a little bit, but I don't really mind because the stiff kind of travel that this thing has now kind of makes it feel a bit more realistic driving around, so I don't really mind. The rear shocks are also still angled like they are stock on the Mogrich, because this chassis was not meant for this short of a wheelbase. But I don't mind this either, because now it doesn't bottom out all the way into the fenders. So that means I can put heavy loads in the back and it won't completely bottom out the tire onto the fender. So that makes it a bit more usable as well. So for my applications, I like it just fine like this. I also got rid of the lights at the top because I didn't like the look of them. So I'll probably put a roof rack or something up here. And that's pretty much it. It's still running the stock ESC. You can go further with this upgrade or conversion, but I wanted to change as little as possible. So I did just keep the stock electronics. Another reason I kept the stock electronics was for the servo. This board has this 3-wire servo in it, whereas I believe the FCX has a different type of servo in it. It is still a 3-wire, but I think the plug is different, which is why I decided to keep the stock ESC, and it works just fine, so I don't mind. The stock lights are still in it and still work, and it still functions just like a stock Mogrich. The only thing you will notice is with the extra gear reduction from the axles, it is much slower now, but also has much more torque. So take that for what you will. The Unimog in real life is super slow anyway, so again, I think it's kind of more realistic this way anyway, so I don't really mind that either. If I were to go further with this, like I said, I would add a roof rack back here, maybe paint it a different color, but for the most part, also paint the servo horn black so it's a little bit more hidden. But other than that, I'm super happy with how this turned out, and really happy with how easy it was. So with that said, let's take it for a quick little run, and I will end the video there. But this is the end for this section of the video. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, comment down below what you think, and as always, I hope everyone has a great day and have fun with RC.